Hey there. So I'm here again reviewing Michael Eric Dyson's Know What I Mean? Reflections on Hip Hop. And this review, part three of the review, actually covers the conclusion of the book, which will be track five or chapter five, the outro written by Nas, the special thanks, the index, as well as about the author. If you've viewed parts one and two of the review, you're a little familiar with the book and its purpose in reflecting Michael Eric Dyson's perspective on hip hop. And speaking of Michael Eric Dyson, uh, like I said, the conclusion of the book includes a little on Michael Eric Dyson. So, for those who aren't familiar with his credibility, his standing as an intellectual or professional, this, although dated, about the author does give insight to Michael Eric Dyson's credibility. And I'll read this about the author word for word. Michael Eric Dyson has been named by Ebony as one of the 100 most influential Black Americans and is the author of 14 other books, including Come Hell or High Water. Dyson is university professor at Georgetown University, where he teaches theology, English, and African American studies. So, the about the author is the in the final pages of Know What I Mean, Reflections on Hip Hop. But these final pages also include an index, which, as I've said in other parts of the review, will probably be most helpful to those who study hip hop or want to reference something within the book. They can go to the index, see if a topic is mentioned in Know What I Mean, find it and reference it that way. So basically, it puts a page number to the shout outs, samples, and head nods that we see throughout the book. And that includes, or those shout outs and samples include everything from Jacob the Jeweler, um, Jay Z's The Black Album, the Black Arts Movement of conscious hip hop, which an entire chapter or track is devoted to. Um, the index includes Dyson's reference to Bill Cosby, Lauryn Hill's Doo Wop, That Thing, um, the prison industrial complex that's mentioned or referenced by Dyson. So yeah, all of those are in the index, and the index is about 12 pages, so it indicates how inclusive this work is. Um, and also there's a special thanks where Dyson um shouts out Jay Z and Nas, who contribute the intros and outros respectively to this book. Dyson thanks his interviewers because this book it provides Dyson's perspective through long interview form. So he thanks his interviewers, family members, and others who influenced him publishing this work. Um, as far as chapters, track five will be the only chapter covered in this part three review because it's the conclusion of the book. The book is only 5 chapters or tracks, as Dyson refers to them as, and some samples or shout outs included is School Days, the Spike Lee movie, the Rutgers University women's basketball team, Black Fathers and Daughters, The Styles of Black Music, Strippers, um, Ja Rule, Queen Latifah, and but most notably, Don Imus's 2007 comment about the Rutgers women's basketball team, referring to them as nappy-headed hoes, is what is most notably sampled in track 5. And Dyson examines that occurrence, which happened again in around April of 2007, and Dyson provides his perspective on that. I want to say incident just because that's the nice things to say, but I'll say occurrence because it did happen, and what Dyson wants readers to consider is the context of the statement that it isn't it excuse me it was not Don Imus's first time speaking ill of African Americans and Black people, but also that his comment speaks to a cultural standard of beauty that should be further examined. Uh, Dyson, in general, notes that this spoke to a visual injustice that Black women, have suffered for decades, centuries, and the correlation he drew between Imus's comment and hip hop is that males in hip hop influence this visual injustice that Don Imus fueled. And Dyson also noted the right to freedom of speech because so many people could have said, as far as hip hoppers, that they hold the freedom of speech, that each and every American individual has the right to freedom of speech, but that the freedom of speech on a record, a hip hop record or song, varies very much from the freedom of speech over open airwaves. And as a reader, I would have liked to um, dig deep. I would have liked for Michael Eric Dyson to dig deeper on that topic, to actually examine the relationship between hip hop and radio, but he didn't do so, which is okay, because that to dig deeper into that may have opened up a perspective Michael Eric Dyson did not want to go into in the final chapter of the book. And so moving on, Michael Eric Dyson notes that the trend of visual injustice for Black women speaks to another trend of young Black males who love their quote unquote love their mothers, but loathe their baby mamas, and how that concept or that behavior influences the Black family and its the plight of the Black family, which Dyson notes is influenced by short-lived relationships or by education status or by economic status and things of that nature. And what the reader sees Dyson go into is as a resolution, it is the concept of mentorship, which has developed very much since 2007, the publishing of Know What I Mean. The concept and practice of mentorship has developed, and what Dyson provides his perspective on specifically is mentorship between older Black males and younger Black males, and how that a mentorship relationship could actually resolve the conflict between these generations and males. Dyson then speaks more on the female and the degradation of the Black female through hip hop, and specifically on ownership of the Black female body, citing the lack thereof since slavery, the lack of the Black female owning her own body, and that there has been a continuous plight since those times. Um, um, Dyson in track 5 also reflects on the church, the Black male church leaders' influence in degrading the Black female. And then finally, Dyson, we read Dyson's perspective on the health of hip hop, where he cites Nas's lyrics saying that hip hop is dead. And what Dyson concludes from that is that it is an irony for Nas to say that hip hop is dead and state that it is alive in the same verses, the same album, as some sort of what I interpreted as a reverse resuscitation of hip hop, or an attempt at a reverse resuscitation of hip hop. And Dyson concludes that hip hop is alive and desperate to breathe, which is signaled by it's launching a withering critique from within the industry that houses it. So as a reader, I'm left questioning, is hip hop alive or dead? And I can assume that Michael Eric Dyson leaves that question for me as the reader to answer. And that was track 5 of Know What I Mean by Michael Eric Dyson. That was track 5, and then there's the outro written by Nas, where Nas applauds Michael Eric Dyson further, much like Jay-Z did in the intro, um, where he applauds Michael Eric Dyson's being an educator of hip hop and giving hip hop and those invested in hip hop purpose and some solid ground to stand on against its critics and etc. Nas concludes with, "I agree because I love hip hop and I am glad that Michael Eric Dyson is on our side." And very dramatically, his last written words in this book is "Know What I Mean," a play on the book's title. So that concludes Know What I Mean by Michael Eric Dyson, or the review of Michael Eric Dyson's Know What I Mean, Reflections on Hip Hop, which is very detailed work and very much devoted to the Black culture. However, very heavy, if not necessary to read, which is why I can assume that it is students who refer to this work more often than those reading for leisure. So going into my next book review, as I mentioned before, it would be something probably nonfiction, but I didn't want to veer so much away from the nature of what I have been reading that I'm not able to mentally shift along with what I'm reading. So, staying true to um, the urban natured books that I've been reviewing. The next will be a nonfiction book titled "Holler at the Moon," written by Tanisha Davis. It's her first. It was her first novel, published in 2009. Again, it's titled "Holler at the Moon," and I'll give myself a month or so to read it and come back and review it for you. And if you've already read it, feel free to read along with me and be able to share some of your perspectives. In general, tell me what you think about these book reviews. If you have a suggestion, tell me what you think. And thank you for viewing and participating in these reviews. I look forward to reviewing Holler at the Moon in a month or so by Tanisha Davis, published in 2009. So again, thank you, and until next time, be well.